Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Permission Mission Show. My name is Mary McElhat and I am your host today. What is Permission Mission? It is a TV show broadcasted here live in Las Vegas, Nevada, about talking and normalizing the conversation of mortality. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I promise you, if you stick in this long enough and you stick in this with me each week, learning about everything that I share on the show, from how to just get more comfortable with talking about mortality, to how do we open up conversations in our home, to being prepared. Many times, most people are not prepared because they haven't had the conversation with their family. So when a death occurs, it's kind of like everybody's just kind of shooting in the dark and not really sure who to call, what costs are, and what to do moving forward. I am so excited today about this show because I happen to have part of my family here. I promised you last week that I would just set an example of talking openly and proudly and boldly with my own children, because I too want to get over the fears that still kind of keep me separated from, like, should I be talking about this? Is it too scary for them? Are they going to be uncomfortable? But I've got some pretty awesome girls. They're strong women and they too have families. They have children of their own. I'm a proud Mimi, and I just want all of us to be able to talk about anything. And if we can get over the toughest conversation, we certainly can get over anything. So this week show is called Family Supported is Family Rewarded. We're just going to talk openly. I'm going to open it up with this, and then we're going to go to a quick commercial, and then I'll have my special guest on the show here today. So, do you ever do things, or have you ever not wanted to do something and then did it, and then all of a sudden you felt pretty good about it? I deal with this on a day-to-day basis. I have a 90-pound boxer named Patch. He has a bark that I cannot sleep through. It starts about 6 a.m. and I'm like hesitant and resistant every morning to get up early and walk him. He likes to be walked to the park, which is probably a good mile walk. And I personally have things to do. So I just want to kind of do the cheap walk, like right out the door, around the corner, back to the house. Oh no. Patch gets me to the park. And I'll tell you, every single time I'm excited that he did. He actually doesn't want to leave the park when we leave there, but he does. And it's one of those things I resist every day, but at the end, I have fun with it. I enjoy seeing the mountains and also all the people at the park that I've met over the years. And I know all the pets, uh, uh, their pets. I know their pets' names, probably more than the people's name. So, anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. Like I said, I've got my two daughters here today, and I can't wait to introduce them to you.
Hi, my name is Edgar Alejandro. I'm the co-founder of Rising Again Productions. So we've been here in Vegas producing films for the past couple of years, and we've seen our fair share of studios. We've worked in our fair share of studios, and to be honest, WWDBTV has been our favorite by far. John is so welcoming. The space is wonderful. It's perfect for what we need. We've had rehearsals here. We've had callbacks here. We've had table reads here. So if you're a Vegas creative, or really just a creative coming into Vegas, definitely check out this space. Chat with John. I think you'll find that this studio has everything that you'll need as well.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Permission Mission Show. My name is Mary McElhat, and I am your host today. And alongside me, I have two of my children here on the show today to just openly and boldly talk about a tough subject, right? So right here is Brianna, my oldest daughter. And I've got Kayla. She came all the way from Colorado, and she is with us here today. And girls, I couldn't be more proud to have you on my show, because one of the things I talk about a topic that's tough to talk about, right? Not everybody's open to talk about, hey, let's talk about death today. And you know that I'm on a mission to change that. And couldn't be more proud that you guys are sitting with me here today. So thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. So I want to open with this. Thank you for having us on the show. I know that this is hard to do, and for you to step out and really talk about the uncomfortable and have people feel more comfortable to talk about it. I know when you first started, it was really like, this is not something we talk about at the dinner table. But I think through the years, we've gotten more comfortable with it, and I'm really proud that you've decided to do this. So it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, definitely an honor to be here. I'm excited to be here and talk about the uncomfortable stuff that now I feel comfortable with. So definitely a change.
It is like a resistance, and then once you kind of get through the resistance of it, it starts making more sense. Would you agree?
Absolutely, especially if you have families. And I have 3 sons. It definitely makes sense to talk about it much younger. I mean, I want to make sure that these things are in place so that they're not left with something. They're grieving. I don't want them to go through the planning portion too.
Yeah, I definitely brought up that too. I think that I pre-planned when I was 25. I think I pre-planned.
It was when you,
with my 2 daughters, and I've had a son since then. So definitely the process was weird, like, what do you want to pick out? And you're picking out these things. And then, but afterwards, there's this relief of like, my daughters do not, or my son do not have to deal with, they get to grieve. They don't need the extra pressure. Like, I think when our grandmother passed away, we had to deal with that front on. And it was very hard for our family. And it didn't even give us not only were we grieving, but I don't think we couldn't grieve because we're all rambling and scrambling together and stressed out. Where when I did it for the girls, when I walked up from that table with you, it was like, even at 25 years old, I was like, if I pass, tomorrow, like even in my car accident, like if I pass, my kids will not have to worry about that part, so
it's kind of a weird gift.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a necessary gift. It's something to look at.
Yeah. And just even Chris, my husband, my mother-in-law just passed not too long ago, and she pre-planned, but there were some things in the middle of it and the cost of it. And I remember going to sleep at night with my husband, and he was just like, I'm so happy that she got to talk about it with your mom and tell her everything that she wanted coming from her mouth. And not all of us brothers try to, come in and say things that maybe she didn't want or whatever. Like, she got to say what she wanted.
Yeah.
But he was also on the side of financially too. So watching him grieve, but also have to financially have to put money out there too, was like, it sucked, but it just made him, he was like, I'm so glad that she said like that. He was so happy about that,
You were young when you did the pre-planning, so
Yeah,
tell me why. Tell them why you considered doing it.
I had been in addiction since I was 12 years old. I had my first daughter, Priscilla, when I was 19, and had my second daughter at 21, I believe 21. But in between that, I had some time of sobriety, and then, go back out, and I had lost my daughter, my first daughter, not lost her, but I had to put her up for adoption, or else she would go to a foster home. And she is still much a part of my life. She is my daughter, Priscilla. And July, I had to kind of fight back for, but while fighting, trying to get her back from the court system, I remember thinking just like, I was clear headed. I had about almost 2 years of sobriety under my belt. And I decided that if anything were to happen to me, that my children, they were so little, and if anything did happen to me, my parents wouldn't have to struggle with that. My kids were so young, they couldn't even be able to fathom that. And my sisters as well, to put that on them was very, so I just made the choice to say, hey, I'm going to do it. And this is hard. And this is weird. This is weird, picking out what I want to do with my dead body and what I want to do. Like, that was kind of weird for me. But then at the end of it, like I said, it got to be such a beautiful experience, not just for me, but for me and you, and know that at the end of it, like, picking out the little things that,
the pink urn.
Yeah, like I got a pink urn.
Let's just be honest. You picked out a really pretty light pink urn.
I got a pink urn, and I got necklaces for my daughters, and just things that would maybe like make them feel comfortable and safe for when I passed, that they would get, that I know that they would love. And I just saw that on my stepdaughters. When my mother-in-law passed, she had gotten the kind of like the similar necklace I got.
Yeah.
And she got it on her graduation, and she just bawled. She cried. And, I look back, if that's something that we could have got of grandmas or grandpas, it's like
after the sadness.
Yeah.
Like the gift that you
definitely.
get from, you know what I mean? Like the person's gone. Because I know that if like grandma left us something like that, it would have been like,
oh my gosh,
you just treasure it.
Yeah.
You treasure it for sure.
And so, Brianna, I'm going to ask you, what is your first experience with loss?
So my very first experience, I was in high school, and it was actually a really good friend of mine. She was killed in a car accident. She had a 6-month-old son. And I remember waking up for school. I was in high school when Erica passed away. And I was just with her. We went to Havasu. She was
pregnant.
No, she had her son. Yeah,
Oh.
He was like 6 months old. And I remember getting the call, and I told you took me right down to the urgent care.
Yeah.
Or the UMC hospital. And I remember like seeing her. So they rolled her in front of us. Actually, it was really like a trippy experience for me. I see like one side of her go. They were wheeling her through to like the emergency surgery area. Yeah. And she was completely fine. And I was like, she looks completely fine. Like nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. And then they took her back. And I remember seeing her blonde hair just covered in blood. And
Sure.
I was like, at a really young age, I don't even think I was driving yet. And it didn't hit me. I was like, this is just not real. And then I remember it really hit me going to her funeral, watching her mom and her son and her husband at the time. And you were with me, and I couldn't speak. I like wanted so badly. I was like one of her best friends. And I wanted so badly to get up and like talk about her and honor her. And I couldn't. I was like, I have nothing. It's just a surreal feeling. So I think going through that at a young age opened it up to me when I had kids. I'm like, no matter what, you never know what's going to happen. And for me to talk about that uncomfortable piece is going to let my kids kind of let me go with peace, and hopefully be a little bit more allow that grieving process to go a little bit more smoothly.
Sure. You made a really important comment about how you wanted to speak. You wanted to say something to honor her, and that
was super uncomfortable. I just
Is-
remember, I'm like, how am I going to find the words to do this?
Well, and it's not your fault. I think because death is such a kind of taboo, or it's just, you don't talk about it. It's kind of weighed us down from actually being like alive and saying, oh, I'm going to say something, like you almost feel this, like you're going to do it wrong or something. And we can't get it wrong. We can't get it wrong if we're talking. And then if we're holding in, because last show I talked about the moment I had with my dad, that I wanted to talk with him about something, and I was just like, it just wouldn't come out. It was just like stuck right here. And then I'm like, but if I don't tell him now, he's not going to be able to hear this. And then I said it, and I literally felt like $1,000,000, because it was like he heard it, and it was such a precious moment for us. And had I not said it, I would have always thought about
I
not
still
saying
do.
it.
I mean, this happened when I was 16. I'm 33 now, and I still think about it all the time.
Even when Erin died,
Yeah,
mom didn't work. I mean, she wasn't in this business, and I think when Erin died, it was like we were very young, but everything was so scrambled, and you can tell in his parents, like everything was scrambled, and his brother Dalton, and just everything was so weird. And you could, like, the mom was just distraught. And I mean, we were young, we didn't know how to, like, if I were now, like, obviously we would help her, but we didn't know. And now looking back, seeing her kind of grow from that, it's been a very long time.
It took a lot of support, I think.
Yeah, it took a lot of support, and a lot of friends, and just coming around, and the cost of the funeral, like, she did not expect her son to die he died at what, 16? He was 16 years old, and died from bicycle, or riding on a bike. And so you don't expect that. And
I think too that there's this perceivedness of that people only pass like when they're older, when they're sick, or when they're have a reason, that health wise or whatever, but the reality is, like, it's not. It's like, one of the questions I have for you girls today, because I was wondering if you guys experience anxiety with me getting older as your mother, like I'm getting older, and does that, because I know I do with my mom. So what's your thoughts on that?
So it's kind of like a little bit backwards, because you're in this industry. I almost feel like people look at us like, oh, they're going to have it together when their parents pass, or you know what I mean? And it's so, I just like need to reassure that it's so not like that. I know that we think we're going to be ready, especially because we've planned it. We talked about it. We continue to talk about it all the time. And I know that I try to like put it in words of like, I know when that day comes, instead of scrambling or trying to put all these plans together of what you would want, we really get to celebrate you. And that's going to be the focus for our family, is just to celebrate you and how you want to be celebrated. And you let us know there's no, the water's clear. There's no like guessing. And, all of us, you have all daughters. We would want certain things.
One son.
Way. Yeah. And it just lets us like just celebrate you. And no one's ever ready for that. I am not ready.
I'm not, no ideas. I hope they don't go anytime soon, but it's interesting. So as a mother, I'm looking at my girls, like 33, you'll be 33 in a couple weeks, and you're 30 now. I'm going, I don't have a choice but to get older. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel that.
But you're getting older, and I'm getting older, and it's so cool to be able to, just talk about something that is tough. But imagine not ever having this moment to talk.
Well, and so when you first got into this, I remember thinking also that like, I don't want to speak this into existence. Like, this is not a thing that I even want to talk about, especially like with my kids or my parents. And it took me a little while to come around that that's not what this is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not speaking anything into existence. Like, this really is just, I plan for a living, and that's all it is. I had to look at it like not planning a birthday party or a wedding, but being able to make that plan so that it's easier on my family. There's nothing that I'm like putting out there. I think the hardest thing was like mentally being okay, you know, like if I were to lose my kids before, you know, me, that would have to be talked about. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want anyone to even think, but you just never know. And I'd rather have that planned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of riding off of that, I think when mom passes, like that is something, you know, you don't want, like I can't even imagine my parents not being here, but I do know that when you do pass, that like this was your legacy. Like this is what you, like you are so diehard on just like,
Dying.
yeah,
I'm
on
kidding.
dying and just like putting that
Me totally,
information
like-
out there, you know. But it's like it really is like when you pass, like this is what you wanted for us, for you, for everybody in this world. Like this is like what you've been voicing to everybody.
You know, it's that when your grandkids,
So-
like Jackson will be like, Mimi really likes to talk about death.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And it's not, and then also too, like, you know, like I was in a severe car accident last year in March. March 27th will be 1 year. And, you know, my daughter, she wasn't breathing, you know, July wasn't breathing, and Flight for Life had to come, and I broke my back, and seeing her just go was like the toughest. I mean, trust me, I'm still in therapy, and it's like PTSD to the max, but just not being able to go with her, and then not pre-planning even for her, because we don't think to pre-plan for our kids, you know. It put it in a whole different perspective. Like, oh my gosh, if I could take all of her pain and if her passing, and like you can't even imagine that at that moment.
Yeah.
But the fact is that does happen. We sometimes do go before our parents. And for little July, like it really did put into perspective in my life, like, you know, I got to talk to her about this, you know, and I need for her to know that like it's going to be okay, and not make it a scary topic for her.
Yeah.
But because she wanted to know why she was rushing to the, you know, the picture she saw,
Yeah.
you know, everything. She wanted to know. She was curious. And so I think it's a hard topic, but you can make it so much easier.
Well, it's kind of your responsibility. I
yeah.
feel like, you know what I mean? As tough as it is, you know, I'm thankful that in our family we're very comfortable talking about it. But like even with my sons, my oldest will be 13, and then I have a middle that will be 11, and they're boys, and they do not want to engage, and they do not want to talk about these things at all. But I'm like, you know, they have a dad that his job is dangerous. You know what I mean? Like there's been several occasions where they're like, you know, daddy's been hurt, and being able to have that conversation with them. Yes, it's scary, and yes, like no one's ready for that, but it's very real.
Necessary.
And there could be a day where we do get a phone call or something does happen, and like I need them. It's my responsibility as a parent to get them as ready as possible to deal with something like that.
If the advantage to pre-planning, you know, I have all my plans in place. I've told you, you know, I want pajamas. I'm going to have pink pajamas and a blanket that's passed around to all the grandkids, and you guys
Where's
kind of
that
holding
pink
that
one
blanket
from
and then
me?
put that in there, because I'll be good and tired I'll be good and ready to go to sleep for a long time.
Oh gosh.
And
Want the quilt.
the beautiful part of, and I think a lot of people are not aware of this, is that when you pre-plan, like my plan actually covers all of my grandchildren and children under the age of 21 not married. So gosh forbid, and I don't like talking about that because it is hard to even fathom that. It's comfort to know that if something should happen, you know, like a lot of families do not know that the cost, I mean, it could not only emotionally wipe out a young family, but financially wipe them out as well. And so when a person like you, Kayla, and you, Brianna, when you have a pre-arrangement, you actually are able to, without any extra cost, at the cost of what your pre-arrangements is, our company will pay out of pocket and still have your own plan in place for every child or grandchild under the age of 21 not married. It is, it was a comfort to me when I did my pre-arrangements. You know, I did them, number one, to practice what I preach, but number two, I had a scary moment out on the freeway too. And I thought, my gosh, I'm in the business and what's holding me back?
Right.
You know, and of course, what holds me back is the idea of me not being here with you guys, right? Because it's a reality check, but the goal is to you guys have the peace knowing that we spent time, you know, really, I feel like our family has only gotten closer.
Yeah, it's weird,
right?
but that's very true. Yeah. I was so not, I remember like you would bring this up, because we like to brunch.
We like to brunch. We did a brunch yesterday for the,
I didn't get to it, but
any excuses
is
we have
there,
to defend, we will.
is there a question in that? John was just raising his hand. I want to make sure. Is there a question?
Can you read that?
You are so inspiring. Oh,
Thank you,
very nice. Thank you, Claudine. Oh, and Dan, of
Dan.
course. Daddy Dan, he's on there.
Family matters.
He knows.
Oh, setting everybody up to win.
He probably hears the most of it.
Yeah, he does.
He does. He does. He has to put up with me every single day. You're welcome, honey, and thank you. I know I will have you on the show one day because I'd love to show couples, you know, people who have spent a lot of time together. Dan and I will be celebrating our 20th anniversary coming up here real soon.
Yay.
And, you know, just he and I just sharing openly how it's been for the two of us talking about this and what it would be like for our children and our grandchildren. Got another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't see this one. Basically, this is for Bree and Kayla. They're asking, do you guys talk about this subject with your friends or amongst yourselves when your mom's not around? Is it something that she has, like,
Definitely. So,
you know, brought you to say, hey, you guys ought to talk about this?
I mean, just yesterday. So it's kind of unfortunate, but fortunate. Every friend that I have, they know that she's in this industry. So I'm automatically the first person they call if something happens. So the first time it was really difficult because I'm like, listen, this is you, like, you're just going to have to talk to my mom. But through the years and just different conversations, there's knowledge that you learn and I'm able to pass that down. And I've noticed yesterday, you know, my best friend calls me and she's got a situation with her mom. And I want to break down for her so bad because I'm just like, my heart breaks for her. But I'm like, this is a time that I need to be strong and just kind of carry down the knowledge that I have to make her comfortable making some really big decisions that are going to be coming her way soon. And if I could be that for people, I'm so thankful that I've had to this on our end. You know what I mean? Because it is so uncomfortable.
It still is uncomfortable. We were all a little uncomfortable when we first started, but it's just like, you know, the resistance part of when I was talking about, like, walk and patch every single day. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. But then when I'm all done with it, it's like, hey, I got a workout in. Hey, I'm going to hopefully live longer.
It's a blessing. Yeah. People ask me all the time. I feel like I'm like I talk to mom, I live in Colorado, but I talk to my mom all the time. And, um, I've been in addiction, my brother has been in addiction. And so it's kind of easy for me to talk to other people, even though, like, the whole thing with July happened and everything like that, which kind of, it's a weird feeling. But with other people, I'm very, like I feel like I go right into Mary McElhatton mode. I'm like, oh yeah, like I will lay it all out there for you and be like, this is how it is. This is what you need to do. This is, and then I give them every like scenario that could happen in their lives of why they need to do this to make it easier. Like, I am Mary McElhatton Jr. I swear. It is so funny. They're like, you.
And
Yeah,
you do look like her too.
yeah. Well,
I have beautiful
I love
girls.
but yeah, no, I definitely am not uncomfortable. I actually like bring it out more in the people, and I'm like, oh, have you ever thought of this? Or, and you and your husband, like me and my husband right now, we're going through. He watched that happen with his mom, but I'm like, no, we need to do this. Like, this is happening. So we went and sat down for dinner, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to Vegas and I'm planning for us. That's what we're doing. You want to be buried in Hawaii? That's where we're going. But we're not going to do this. Like, we're not going to push this off anymore because we travel so much, because, like, there is so much at risk, and we have what, 7 to 8, 8 with Priscilla, like 8 kids that I wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know what to do. And so, like saying, no, then I'm going to make the plans. I'm doing it. And after it's done, I promise you, it will be like a weight lifted off your shoulder.
It's a weight on us.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Even
Definitely.
just when we first started, like, it's a weight, and that's the goal, is to get that lifted, to not allow that to control us in our daily lives, especially as we start getting older. And, I don't want any vintage person out there feeling the stresses and the pressures, because the reality is, like, it's on all ages. Right. And if we kind of even out that weight of, like, we're all in this together, and not scare, because
it's not taboo.
It's not taboo. And hi, Mom. I know my mom's out there watching today. Their grandmother, Rita from Olney, Illinois. Mom, I just wanted to shout out there, because this is what you've created here. You've got some bold, brave, powerful women that, are taking on our lives so that everyone has permission to have peace to go when it's their time. Sweet little July, Kayla, it wasn't her time. And I'm so grateful for that. But there are a lot of people out there who have lost their children, as Grandma has. Grandma's buried 3 of her children, 3 of my siblings, and she's probably the bravest woman that I've ever seen. She's really the one who started this in me, because I've sat and watched, things happen, and how we can just better take responsibility for our life well lived.
Right.
Not our passing, not our death, right?
And there's an after too. Like, I know that just with you sharing with us that there was a big transition after you lost your siblings in your home. And I can't make any guarantees, but I do know that when it's talked about prior, it's easier to talk about after. And even though it's hard, you can honor in a different way. But I think it helps get your family to a place where it doesn't need to be so sad. You can talk about it and remember them and the memories. It doesn't need to be quiet. Because you told me that no one talked for a while in your home.
The house that I once felt so very safe in, all of a sudden didn't. And that wasn't my parents' fault.
No.
It was because the way that in the world, it's just not a subject people want to get involved in, or I think maybe some people are afraid it might happen to them if they, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
like-
you just kind of are like, whoa, that's too heavy, you
intense.
know, too intense. And my parents kind of sat in their silence and their grief and still trying to raise a family and raise us kids. And I think they did a fabulous job based on circumstances. And, you know, I just don't, it's not meant to be quiet when it's happening 100% of the time.
Well, if there's no way to go out of this world other than that, we're all doing it.
Yeah, I actually wrote just a small quote here. Mortality must be at the forefront of today because without it, our lives won't matter as much at the end.
I love that.
I love that too.
They won't matter as much at the end because we have an opportunity, and our opportunity is to celebrate and honor a person's life, whether they're living or whether they have passed.
Yeah.
So, do you got one of the questions I had down here was about how your generation, you know, is it a topic that's as silent in your generation as it is in mine? I know you kind of answered a little bit based on what John had asked us, but what would you like to see that different, and can you see the value?
I do. I mean, I feel like social media on all ends is just there's so many things that are important, you know? And like for me, when I look at it and I value the things that are all over the internet, I don't know why this isn't important. I don't know why people would be afraid. I mean, I get it because when you first got into it, I was like, we are not talking about this. I honestly would
She
avoid lunches or anything because I'm like, I can't do this. Like talking about this all the time. And then I just started to look at it a little bit differently after we lost Rita and her girls. I'm like, you know, this is a part of life. And I think the more that we talk about it, not the more comfortable we are. Because like I said, no one's ever ready to lose anybody.
Yeah.
But it's just on a maturity aspect, like it's going to happen.
Yeah. And who is Rita to you? Because they don't know.
So Rita is my cousin. She was killed
2 years
2
ago.
years ago.
It's crazy. It's already been 2 years.
I know.
Yeah. 2 years have gone by, and that was absolutely devastating to lose your cousin, my niece, my sister's daughter,
Along with her two girls.
along with her two daughters, 13 and 3. And I tell you, I don't think we would have gotten through that if we had not had some of this, because I did share on a previous show that Rita did tell me what she wanted. She
Right.
told me. And
But like I look at her, you know, I look at our family and we have a really big family and we are all at one point we weren't comfortable talking about it. And our family really is an example because her funeral and then even after her funeral, we just honor her so differently. I compare it because there was a time where when I went to someone's funeral, I couldn't speak. And I loved that person, you know, and then now in my life and in the place that we're at, getting up and honoring Rita and making a speech for her was effortless almost because that was what wasn't, you know what I mean? It was important. I had learned to kind of navigate through those feelings just to at least get there.
yeah.
Yeah, same. That was like the easiest. I could barely get up and speak at grandma's funeral.
Yeah.
And when I got up and spoke at Rita's funeral outside, it was like, I mean, I wrote that like just like a letter to her so effortlessly because, you know, I knew not that I didn't, you know, it wasn't hard. It was hard, but that definitely was a funeral that I had went into that was so much different than others. Like, you know,
Because our family was just very supportive.
like Uncle Steve, Nellie Ray, and Stan
Dustin.
and Dustin.
Dustin,
I mean,
yeah.
there's been so many.
We're
like,
honoring a lot of people here today. Just
Yeah.
bear with us. We
have like a second family, like Uncle Steve. Like he, you know, it was very in the place that when I went to Nellie Ray's funeral not too long ago, it was wow, it's almost been a year, but like when I went to her funeral, she had already had everything pre-planned with her and grandpa. And I remember going to his funeral. And at that time, Uncle Steve was a judge, and like it just financially everything was okay, right?
Sure.
And then Nellie Ray passed, and as we know, circumstances can change in anybody's life, financially, everything. But they had always had their pre-plan. They had their bench, like I was talking about. It was so special. Me and my cousin Ashley got to sit there and just like, pray and cry and all of this. But when Nellie Ray was what, 90? She was in her 90s when she passed, and she had MS. And she had been bedridden since she was, completely bedridden
In her 30s.
In her 30s, and she was diagnosed at 20 something years old with MS. But
she was an inspiration, by the way.
She was an amazing woman. This woman could talk your ear off, but she just wanted company. And when she passed, it was so kind of cool to go to her funeral, and everything was planned. Like, in her culture, you go up and you see the body and you kiss the body if you want to, or you touch the body. And by being in like your work, like learning from you, going up there, watching people just like scared or bawling or getting mad. People were getting mad when they were making these speeches. It was like, oh geez, like I wish you knew what I know, like how we could handle this different. And our younger cousins on that side, they didn't know how to deal with it. They were upset. They were mad. They were mad that grandma, 90 some years old, passed away, and she wanted to go, So yeah, I think it's definitely important to talk about like the millennials talking about that and making it more, not so taboo, and like making it comfortable for other people to talk about it at a younger age. But like getting back to Nellie Ray's funeral, Uncle Steve's life had changed very much, and watching him lose Nellie Ray was probably the saddest things I have ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
And it was at an LDS church, but he didn't make his speech LDS really. He just got up there and said how he felt, because he was at her bedside, and took care of her whole life until Stanley was gone. Her husband was gone. He really came in and took care of her. So, and his sisters. But even then, you watched at the funeral how everything got so, people were mad. People were, who's getting this? Who's getting that? And that never had to happen, as long as like that was something that was never put in place.
Sure.
And that was something that would have been important.
Which is the part of thinking about the entirety of end of life things, like when it's not addressed and it's not delegated properly, or in a way that people have openly talked about it, it certainly does cause a lot of friction and a lot of fighting. And I know that families don't want to be fighting, but it's because people didn't make decisions prior.
Right.
Yeah. And so there would cause confusion and frustration. And if there's finances, money involved, it would certainly, to those who really need it, would be more apt to fight for it, or, you know what I mean? Like, so we are definitely scratching the surface.
Oh yeah.
In a very, very good way. I feel better about talking with you girls today, just because I was nervous. Again, just being a mother, I don't have all the answers. I just have a few. This is one that
Got
I
more than a few.
I have a few. This is one that I have
She
just
has.
practiced and practiced and practiced because I do believe that families supported are families rewarded in so many different ways down the road. And we just simply can be in this life together and also in the preparing part of it. My father called it his day of departure. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I do too.
A day of departure and not stress about it. Awesome, Meredith. My paternal grandmother seriously mailed boxes upon boxes to all of her grandchildren as she found herself
I love
declining. Nothing to fight over at the end of her life.
smart.
Oh,
Yeah, I love that.
I
So
love
smart.
that. And I think people would really enjoy that, just receiving the gift
Yeah, it's
instead
like
of
the
having
gift
to pick it
after.
out.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, because then it
Have you
it
got
does
any-
start
do you got
feeling a
anything
little
coming?
awkward.
Do you got anything coming for us?
No,
Look at these girls
I
already
tell-
asking me.
I tell
It's
Mom,
good.
I say-
Keep bringing these good questions up.
I tell Mom, I say, this is what I want. This is what, you know.
But
And then-
imagine if she's gone
but-
and then something comes to your house and it's something of hers. I think
No, I think, yeah, that's an amazing thing. That's like,
Yeah.
I've never even thought of that. That's
That's
a
really cool.
really good idea. I think that's a really good idea, even for like your grandchildren, like making
Mhm.
boxes. I mean, over your
you're
life,
gonna have a lot of
making,
them to
yeah,
make,
you're gonna have
but-
a lot to make. But
Well-
at this age, I mean, Mom, you look like you're 20, so you can you'll be
Yeah.
able to make these.
Thank you guys.
That's
I
an
paid
awesome
Kayla
idea.
to say that. No.
Yeah.
58 celebrated
Hashtag ad.
58 yesterday.
Yeah,
Had a wonderful birthday. Thank you, girls,
it's
for
not over.
taking me out for my birthday day, and it was just a beautiful time. And that is what Permission Mission has done to me, is help me to take time off of work, be more intent about life, intentional about life, and also just making sure my relationships are really good and healthy and strong, so that if, that day did come, I didn't leave anything undone.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Mom, like, I'm so proud of you because, like, we've had a rocky relationship, but I feel like since you got into this business, and like, I don't even want to call it a business because it's like really your, like
Passion.
your passion of, like, you're so passionate about it. I don't even want to call it a business, but I'm so proud of you and just how close we've been able to get through this whole thing.
Sure.
Like we've talked for hours where, like, my mom speaks so much, but I can, like, out talk her on the phone, and she's
Yep.
like, okay, I gotta go.
Beyonce.
But
She can.
yeah, I literally will, like, out talk her on the phone, but we talk about this. We really do. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding you. We talk about this kind of stuff, and we talk about, like, especially right now, what's going on in our world, like, the fentanyl abuse and the drug abuse and just everything. And these parents, not like, they don't understand. They don't get it. I mean, how can you fathom your child dying? But I'm just so proud of you of taking everything that, like, has gone on in our family and going out there and just using it for your mission and, like, what you really are passionate about, and giving us something to, like, at the end of the day,
Making
be
the uncomfortable comfortable.
yeah, like, at the end of the day, I don't feel that anxiety of, like, when you go, what's going to happen, or when Dad goes, like, you even make it comfortable for me with that. And it's just, it's a blessing. It's such a blessing so I'm just so proud of you.
Okay.
Like, I could not be more proud of just what you've done and what you've put out there, because a lot of people do not have the guts to do that. They don't want to talk about the hard stuff.
When you're so not what people would expect
No.
to talk about it either. Like, when I tell people, like, your mom, I'm like,
She's little, but
Yeah.
she is mighty.
that
She
happy
is
one
mighty.
in the corner over there.
That happy one,
She
yeah.
talks about the saddest things.
I talk about the saddest things, and
But she
But
makes
makes it
it not
okay.
sad, though.
It's
She
gotta be
makes
okay.
it not in, like, a, I think the one time that I ever even And I watched you in the back of that car when we were going to Texas. We were driving from Illinois with Aunt Linda, and I watched you in the front seat. And for once in my life through all of this, I think it was the only time, that time and when we were in the room making the arrangements, my mom was trying to hold it together so much, and she did amazing. Like the grace my mom has, and just like you're flawless to me.
No,
But
no.
You're a rock star.
you were such a rock star, but in that moment we didn't expect that to happen to Rita and the girls, and how it happened. And I looked at you and you just were like trying to hold it together for
My sister.
your
Yeah.
sister,
For my
and
sister.
It is
and
always
for
going to be
us,
hard,
and
no
for
matter how experienced
like for
you are.
everybody. But that was like that was the biggest tragedy in our family, because it was murder, and that is a very hard thing, especially with somebody that works in the business, that has been doing this for a long time.
It was hard for all of
It
us.
was-
All
it
of
was
us
hard
even
for
working in the business.
everybody. But I looked at you and like you really you held it together, but you knew your place in it, right? Like with Aunt Susie, you knew how
Yeah.
to make sure that she, like, you weren't all in it. I got it. I do this for a living. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
You let her be like, this is the options and this is what you can do. And if
While
you
your
don't want
heart
to
is
do that,
breaking.
while your heart is breaking too. And it was just really cool, but just like I watched that from you in the car, and I was like, wow, you had to let your guard down, but you also were trying to keep everybody up too. It was like that medium. And so I just am like so grateful and thankful for you in that time. So
We get an opportunity when we know we do better. My Angela always says, when we know better, we do better. And this is an opportunity for us just to know better. And I really just want to commend my sister and how well she has done, considering how hurtful that was for her.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of her.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, she is learning day to day how to accept that it's not about how we die, it's more about when we die. And when we stay focused on the when, it helps people who are still living how to cope a little better, be a little bit gentler on themselves, because I'm in awe of a woman who already had a pretty difficult life, and then to have that happen. And now she's flourishing, and that's the permission part, is that
To live for them.
is, people, not putting more weight on her. She's already got it. So it's like, let's just continue to keep lifting this veil out there, or this heaviness of whoever made it up, that we do not talk about this particular subject. We said last week, it's like, who made this rule? Well, we're breaking it. We are completely breaking this rule up. And this is time to end the show. I think we could keep on going.
I cannot believe, I was worried that we were.
Yeah, no, they're all like,
I'm like, how long is 30 minutes?
how
It's a
long
long
does this
time to
go?
talk in an
I
hour.
said it'll go as long as it needs to go. I appreciate you girls again.
Thank you.
You are
Yes, thank you.
absolutely my biggest supporters in life. And also, you teach me. You girls in Austin, you teach me every day on how to just keep living life and learning about all that we can to just make the most of it. Bringing a little bit of heaven on earth, I think, is worth it.
Yes.
so that we can enjoy what we have. So we will see you next week. Thank you for staying with us on this broadcast, WWDBTV. You can again, please share the videos with those loved ones, those friends that may be in a situation where they don't know how to get it started. Today is just an example of just letting it be talked about and getting over the fear of it and feeling more comfortable. I can't wait till next week show. Every week we just simply talk and practice and say that mortality is a normalized conversation, because it does make a difference every single day in our lives today, and for all the people who unfortunately will have to say goodbye to somebody today, help them find peace in the passing and peace in the preparing. So have a great week, everybody. I'll see you back next week.